Where do we see Satan, capital S, in the Old Testament? We read in Genesis chapter 3 that there is a serpent in the garden that tempts Adam and Eve. They both eat from the fruit, and then there are consequences. The interesting thing about that passage is that the word Satan doesn't show up in that passage. Hold on a second though. As we continue to read, we get to the book of Job, and we actually read that many of our translations have the word Satan capitalized there. And we're like, Satan shows up there. Okay, well, here's the deal. We don't normally put articles, the word the, before names. And in Job, the word the shows up before Satan. It doesn't necessarily mean that Satan isn't there, but what it does mean is that there isn't a proper name, Satan, there. But the proper name does show up in 1 Chronicles chapter 21, verse 1. Then Satan stood against Israel and incited David to number Israel. It's very clear that the chronicler believes that there's a proper name, Satan. There's some sort of really bad figure that incites David to do something not good. Now let's think, was the Satan in chapters 1 and 2 of Job actually Satan, capital S? It could have been. It does seem that the Satan in that context challenges God's system of just retribution by way of Job. That sounds pretty bad. Then we go back to the beginning, Genesis 3, and we read that there was this serpent evidently talking, challenging what God had really said to Adam and Eve. So it does seem, just by reading the Old Testament, that the character we see show up in Job and the character we see show up in Genesis 3 could be the same Satan that we see in 1 Chronicles chapter 21. Throughout the New Testament, who Satan is in Christian theology is ironed out for us. But I do think, at least, bare minimum, Satan does show up in 1 Chronicles chapter 21, verse 1. And I think we understand where he might show up elsewhere based upon that passage.